Hi, I'm Derek Landy. Welcome to the Lazy Book Lovers podcast.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Toni.
And I'm Tali.
And we are
the Lazy Book Lovers.
This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Today's episode is big deep dive, feral talk time, about the series Skulduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy.
As he just kindly introduced us.
Yeah, so you heard a little recording he kindly did for us when we went to a signing of his a few months ago. If you've listened to us for a long time, you know my general obsession about this series. That I had waited patiently 2 years for Natalie to finish the fucking series so that we can talk about it on the podcast.
Thing is, ADHD brain said no.
Yeah.
You had to wait for it. Brain to say yes.
Yeah, brain said yes a year and a half later. So yeah, it's a 15 book series, guys. So it's a bit of a... Currently 15 books. He's just announced that he's gonna expand it by 3 more books. It's been going the first one was published 2001 or something stupid. So it's been going on for 20 years. I didn't read any of them when I was younger. This is a series a lot of people may have read 1 or 2 books from in their school library. Whenever I've done TikToks about this,
yeah,
loads of people were like, oh, Skulduggery Pleasant, I love that book, I read it in school. So a lot of people read this as a teen and then kind of forgot it existed. And yeah. I didn't pick these up till I was an adult.
No, that would have been nice. If I could imagine I would have got really obsessed with these as a teen.
Well, and also... he has been sneaking books with LGBT plus characters in normal libraries for years. They are very inclusive books. They talk about a lot of deep topics.
Oh, so if anyone's wondering, it's a fantasy, urban fantasy YA series.
Yeah.
I would say urban fantasy. I've only just decided it's urban fantasy, but it's because it's fantasy with mobile phones and stuff, so it is.
Yeah, because it's set in, it's a magical society that's hidden from the modern world. So, yeah, I guess it is urban fantasy.
Yeah.
But it's also crime and horror.
Yeah, it's a good mixture of genres, yeah. It
ticks a lot of boxes. So I actually, read these as an adult because we found...
there were so many lists where he had
yeah, and also his
acknowledgements were
the Pinterest thing that I found where it was his dedication bit and his acknowledgements bit. They are hilarious.
Yeah,
and someone on Tumblr, and then it made its way to Pinterest, had done a compilation of them basically. And I was like, I'm gonna have to read this just because of these.
Yeah,
and me being me, bought the 9-book box set.
Wow.
Yeah, no, you can only buy the first 9. You can still only buy the first 9 as a complete set.
Yeah.
And you have to buy the rest separately.
That's probably their justification for not changing the covers, because they're like, fine, but we'll only sell them in a set.
Yeah. So, me being me, bought all 9, then read all 9, and got fully fucking obsessed. This is pre-podcast, I think. I think I had just finished them.
I think you were finishing up them at the beginning of the podcast. Because you were talking about them in reading updates.
The new books that came out, though. But the actual original first time I read them all. It was the year we started the podcast, but it was in January of that year.
Yeah.
And we started the podcast in June.
So, yeah, we're just going to basically talk about them. Full spoilers ahead.
Yes.
If you haven't read this series, I would recommend coming back to this episode. Because I do think you should read the series, and some of the reveals and stuff are just too good to have them spoiled.
They are, there's some big spoiler moments. Not stuff to do with I don't know how the characters develop. It's characters we lose along the way who are big characters in the early series and stuff like that.
And Derek Landy was very good at planting stuff very early on and letting it grow for 6, 7, 8 books.
So the end of book 9 is a conclusion of stuff they start seeding in book 1. So
yeah, if you haven't read it, we'll see you next week.
Yeah. So I've got on his website the bio of Derek Landy. I thought we could start with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's obviously as funny as the rest of them. So it says about Derek, and then it's got a picture of him, and it says "Meet the Golden God." By the way he comes across online is exactly who he is in person. Like, it's one of those times that, like, meet your hero kind of thing. He was exactly what we wanted, wasn't he?
He was just so funny.
So lovely when we've gone to signings.
He's a proper, like, cinnamon roll, isn't he?
Yeah. This is his about me on his website. Derek Landy is far too modest to talk about any awards or accolades his books may have won. He will not, for instance, mention the fact that his first book, Skulduggery Pleasant, won the Red House Children's Book Award, or that his second, Playing with Fire, won an Irish Book Award for Children's Book of the Year, or that his third, The Faceless Ones, is his mother's personal favourite. He lives in Ireland with a variety of cats, a German Shepherd, 2 geriatric Staffordshire Bull Terriers, who keep peeing on his kitchen floor because they think it's funny. That's it. That's his whole bio on his website.
That is perfect, I would say.
Well, this is the Skulduggery Pleasant website, but I assume this is his website. We also follow his partner on TikTok and Instagram. She's very funny. Laura, I can't remember the name of her account. She does, like, she was a fan first, wasn't she?
Yeah.
So now she does, like, Skulduggery skits, and they are very funny. We almost got a chance to meet her, but there was the signing we went to. She unfortunately had to leave early, didn't she?
Yeah.
The series is split up into trilogies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna, before we go feral, gonna rattle off the trilogies and what books fit under each one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've got the Faceless Ones trilogy, which is Skulduggery Pleasant, Playing with Fire, the Faceless Ones. The Deathbringer trilogy, which is Dark Days, Mortal Coil, and Deathbringer. Then we've got the Darkest trilogy, which is Kingdom of the Wicked, Last Stand of the Dead Men, and The Dying of the Light. Then the Abyssinia trilogy, so that's Resurrection, Midnight, and Bedlam. And then our final one, which is what we've just finished. Well, you've just finished. Mm-hmm. But it actually came out last year in June, or maybe longer ago than that. No, the year before.
2 Aprils ago we went to the signing.
Yeah, because it was when I lost my granddad.
And I was pregnant.
And you were pregnant, yeah. Oh my god. The Obsidian trilogy. So this is Seasons of War, Dead or Alive, and Until the End. And they've just announced a new trilogy.
Starting with A Mindful of
Murder. It doesn't have the name of the trilogy on here, though.
No, it just says the new trilogy.
But it does have a name, because it was on his Instagram.
Are you looking on the website?
I'm on the Skulduggery Pleasant website, yeah.
I will quickly look it up.
And then there is a bunch of novellas and graphic novels to go alongside this as well. It says Armageddon Out of Here, The Grimoire, and there's another one. There's another novella. The Magnificent Seven. There's another novella. Quite long for novellas, though. If you look at them on the shelf.
Mm. And then he's now started a graphic novel series as well, which are it doesn't really say what the next. Sorry, I'm just jumping about. It doesn't say what the trilogy is called on his Instagram. It just says start of a new trilogy. Yeah, so he's also got a graphic novel series, and they are standalone stories set in the universe.
Yeah.
It's a very full universe.
Obviously 20 years of also just existing means there's obviously a lot of fan stuff out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fan theories. I mean, if you want to get into it, there's a lot in the world. Not enough merch, though.
Yeah.
Because, like, your stickers that you made are one of the few things I can find on Etsy when I've gone looking.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
So, to get us started talking about the actual books and what we felt. Book one is basically, it starts with Stephanie Edgerly. You'll hear us talking about Valkyrie. It's the same person. Spoiler. But I guess we're doing a spoilers episode. So,
what does it say about the characters on the website?
It's just got, like, character profiles.
Ah, okay.
Stephanie has a very eccentric writer uncle who she loved. He dies mysteriously, and she gets left his estate. And when she gets left his estate, she's like 12, and she stays there for like one night, and a guy who can like chuck flames and stuff just turns up, and he's like, "Tell me where it is," and she's like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about." And then this is where she meets Skulduggery, who is a skeleton detective. I love all the descriptions of Skulduggery where he's like, you know, the smooth velvet voice that he's supposed to have, which in the audiobooks, like the first audiobooks, I think up to, you know, when they switched the narrator that you hated, which is like a Bedlam.
Bedlam, yeah. And that really put me in a slump with the series when they changed narrator.
Oh, it's the narrator in the first, because he does switch at another point as well, but it's not as awful. So Rupert Degas, he does the first like 9, I think.
Yes.
And his voice is Skulduggery's voice in my head.
Yeah, definitely.
So the first 3 books are just about basically why her uncle was killed, and then the fallout from that. So he had a weapon under his house. He's got like catacombs and like tunnels and caves under his house that were carved out by a crazy sorcerer before him, which is one of the reasons Gordon bought the house. Yeah. But obviously Gordon is meant to be Derek in this one.
Yeah, so he is stand-in for Derek Landy.
Basically. Yeah, and these catacombs, there's this weapon. Only someone who is a descendant of... It's not the Faceless Ones, what are the good guys? The Faceless Ones are the bad guys. The ones that Valkyrie's supposed to be descended from in the beginning.
The ancient ones. Is
ancient
that what
ones,
called?
there we go. Yeah, so
I had to have a think there.
It's something that only someone who's a descendant of the ancient ones can touch.
Yeah.
And then through that they discover that a baddie from like a war that happened like 150 years before this is set, which like Skulduggery was heavily involved in. And also it's the war in which Skulduggery became a skeleton detective.
Yeah, he's like hundreds of years old or whatever.
300,
that's it, yeah.
So there was like some big war, big baddies, and they end up winning, but in the process Skulduggery, his entire family is murdered and tortured in front of him, and then he is murdered. But someone did something, and you find out way later how or why it happened. Someone did something to him to magically bring him back, but as a skeleton. So he can still feel pain, but he's a skeleton. And he can be like pulled apart, and you can replace bones of his.
Yeah.
But
yeah, because he like has like backup bones that he polishes and whatever.
Yeah. When Valkyrie gets shown his bone room for the first time, she's like, "This is so creepy." And the fact that his head is not his head. Yeah.
And like he doesn't like need to eat or sleep or anything like that. And then but he does like get food and stuff in the house for Valkyrie later on.
But it's just stuff like when he's like, well, there's that pizza from last time you were here. And she's like, I was last at your house 3 weeks ago. And he's like, does pizza not last that long? Or he didn't used to have beds in the house until she started coming over more.
On the sofa or whatever to begin with, doesn't she? He does get like a charm thing at some point where he can have a face, like a human face.
Yeah, but he chooses like not to have his face from when he was living. Yeah. He gets it to randomise different faces.
It's a different face every time.
Yeah. But in the beginning, he just wears a fuzzy wig and a hat. And gloves.
Oh, when he goes to like the will reading,
when he goes to
just like
Gordon's funeral,
yeah,
in a fuzzy wig,
yeah, like a clown wig or something.
So in the beginning, he obviously doesn't want to get Valkyrie involved in the magical world, but Valkyrie's like, well, fuck you, this is way more exciting than school.
I'm doing it.
I'm doing this, and in the end, because Skulduggery's like, not all right.
No.
Skulduggery's been through a lot.
He makes like, very poor decisions.
He's like, it's completely reasonable that I'm going to have a 12-year-old sidekick. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to train her to be a detective.
And just to be clear, everyone else in the world is aware that this is weird and call him up on it. Like, it's not just... okay.
Yeah. And Valkyrie keeps going to them like, no, I want to be here. And they're all like,
But you're 12.
But yeah, you are a child.
And
especially
I find that really interesting when it comes to like Omen and the later books, like the last few books, when Omen, he's like 15 or no, I think he's like 15 or 16 or so.
And Valkyrie's trying so hard to protect him from going through what she went through.
Like it's not like, but then even Skulduggery's like, he's a child, and she's like, I was younger when I started.
Well, because he says sorry to her at one point about how young she was when they started.
Yeah. I feel like, I know I'm jumping around a bit.
No, it's okay.
But I feel like over the course of the series, we very much see Skulduggery kind of gain a bit more humanity, and it's from being with Valkyrie.
Well, that's why a lot of people will say to Valkyrie, like, you make him better. Because Skulduggery is ruthless.
Yeah.
By the way. There's a reason he, like, helped them win the war. But as a result...
And the reason he's feared.
yeah, and as a result, that he is pretty ruthless. Yeah. And he's very much like, why wouldn't we kill them? And she's like, well, because killing's bad. And he's like, is it though? He's a baddie.
But...
And she's like, at what point do we do so much killing that we become the baddies? And Skulduggery's like,
yeah, because at the beginning, Valkyrie is very much, she's a 12-year-old. She sees everything as kind of black and white in terms of morality.
There's good and bad people.
Yeah. And Skulduggery, everything's a shade of grey, and it depends on what mood he's in and what
very
he's getting
morally
out of
grey.
it. Yeah.
Like, no people... It's one of the reasons I like this series is no one's a hero. No one is wholly good or wholly bad.
Yeah, even the bad guys.
Yeah.
We still get the humanity to them. All of them. I don't think there's an exception of any bad guy in the series that I can't see their point of view.
Even Meritorious. And Meritorious is... I'm guessing, if you listen to this, you must have... You either don't care about spoilers or you must have read the books and that's why you're listening. So Meritorious is obviously the big baddie from the war.
Yeah.
Who we meet later when they go back in time and go into different dimensions and find different versions of Meritorious. Is it Meritorious who's a big baddie? Or have I mixed up names?
No, yeah, I think he is. But I also have a shit memory, so...
The big baddie. I'm sure he's Meritorious.
We're going to go with it.
I've said it with confidence, so I'm going to trust myself.
So we're going to do it.
We have terrible memories, guys, and there are 15 books. If we're gonna get some names wrong.
Yeah, I read them over the course of like a year and a half, so
yeah. So please forgive us. Even him when they meet him, and like Valkyrie's so disappointed because he's like really soft spoken.
Yeah,
he's
not
this
like
big, powerful dude who's also so super soft spoken.
Yeah.
And there's a point where she's literally in a cage in his office, and he's just like politely, like quietly writing, like paperwork out. She's
trying to wind him up, and he's just ignoring her whilst he does his work.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm so disappointed because like she's like, I've met better baddies than you that have better posturing, and he's like,
whatever.
Yeah, so like the first 3 books are kind of the fallout of some people from the big bad war that Skulduggery defeated, but a lot of them were pardoned to just get peace. Like this war went on for a long time, and they were like, okay, we just want peace now. Yeah. So like, live and let live. Don't do it again. You're pardoned.
Yeah.
And that includes the person...
Just promise us you won't do it again, please.
That includes the person who murdered his wife and children.
Yeah.
Child. And killed him. And one of those people from his past is, like, doing dodgy shit again. And that's why they've tried to steal this weapon.
Yeah.
And so the Faceless Ones is, like, all the fallout of that. Someone's trying to basically summon the Faceless Ones, which are a race of gods that live in a different dimension that people on their dimension worship. And they are bad news bears. They're bad.
Yeah.
And people are trying to summon them again.
Of course they are.
And that trilogy ends with Skulduggery going through the portal, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah.
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 Because this is when... So basically, that's the point where Valkyrie goes through a bit of character development of once she loses Skulduggery, she gets pretty ruthless in trying to get him back.
Yes.
So I actually don't know how useful it would be to read the summary.
I'm just looking at them.
Because I guess you will have read them if you're here. That was my plan, and I suddenly realised how stupid the plan was as I started to do it.
What, just reading a summary?
Like, I think, yeah. So the second trilogy, the Deathbringer trilogy, this is while Skulduggery's in the Faceless One's dimensions being tortured, and Valkyrie's trying to get him back, she actually gets involved with one of the necromancers. So there's different branches of magic. When before you turn 18 and go through what's called the surge, your magic doesn't settle on one kind of magic, so you can be a bit ambidextrous almost magically. But you're still going to have certain talents for certain things. Turns out Valkyrie has as much talent in necromancy as she does in elemental magic. But necromancy is a bit more immediate. It doesn't require as much skill.
Yeah.
And she gets involved
and it's also kind of negatively looked at because it's necromancy.
Yeah. Well, also because, especially what we found out during the Deathbringer trilogy, when we found out... So they have this thing of one day the Deathbringer will come and end death itself on Earth.
Yeah.
But throughout the course of this trilogy, we discovered what that actually means is they flood the kind of pathway to death with so many deaths at once that it kind of dissolves. So I'm sort of paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah.
But it means half the world's population has to die in order to achieve it. And the Deathbringer is someone powerful enough to do that. And the necromancers, while Skulduggery's out of the picture, start to groom Valkyrie because they think she's going to be strong enough.
Yeah.
Because Valkyrie is very powerful.
Yeah.
And so that trilogy is about that kind of storyline of... And there's also... So there's each trilogy has one storyline that kind of overarches, but then they also have per book different detective things
stories.
They're solving.
Yeah.
And then
there's also overarching things across
the first 9 books.
Yeah.
Because the next trilogy, whenever people get to that point in the series, that's where I'm like, do you remember I said to you, I was like, just be prepared.
Yes. For the Darkest.
So the Darkest trilogy, which is honestly Last Stand of the Dead Men and Dying of the Light.
Yeah.
Those were devastating books.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Dead Men were this crew of nutters that Skulduggery was part of, and basically they were famous for going to missions that are suicide missions, but somehow succeeding over and over. So they were called the Dead Men, because they were also headed by a living skeleton towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, one of the good things about how old Skulduggery is that we learn all of these various things about his life at random points throughout the series.
But sprinkled.
Yeah.
Especially what we find out in the last
and
trilogy.
Valkyrie's always like, what? Why did you never tell me this? And it's like, oh, it just never came up. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
did you ask?
Yeah.
When we find out later that Skulduggery's got siblings.
Yeah, and Valkyrie's understandably like, what the fuck? And it's
Living
like, well,
siblings. Who are all more powerful than him.
And she knows one of them. And he's just like, well, you never asked.
Did you ever ask?
Yeah. And he's like, I always ask about your family or whatever.
I love Valkyrie's dad. Because he's such a dad.
I wonder if her dad is also a stand-in for Derek Landy.
Maybe.
After Gordon's no longer in it.
Yeah.
Because I just find him so hilarious. And he just says things that I could imagine, Derek Landy saying in a very limited capacity of which I know him. Which is
so
through,
we don't know him personally.
Yeah, which is just through what he obviously gives us on social media. But yeah.
Yeah. When he... it's just little things. Like one of the times she comes home, so the way Valkyrie gets away with doing this detective stuff while being literally a child is they end up getting this thing called a reflection, which is almost this magical stand-in for her,
which causes a lot of drama in
later.
itself.
Yeah. So
oh my god, yeah. I just remembered when her cousin gets well, this is a spoiler one.
Yeah,
gets killed, and then a reflection takes its place, and that's never kind of really resolved. It's just a thing that's happened in the world.
So in the later books, it's part of because Valkyrie makes a lot of mistakes, and it's a lot of her guilt is the fact that Carol is just traumatised by the way her sister changes.
Yeah, and then, like, she just disappears and has nothing to do with the family
So
anymore.
her and the horrible aunt are, like, crying at family dinners because which is the reflection. Because Valkyrie's reflection malfunctions. This one never does. It never gets more humanity. Whereas Valkyrie's reflection does end up getting a lot of humanity and also becoming its own identity towards the end, which is where all this shit kicks off. Because it ends up being human enough to be able to imprint on that weapon from the first trilogy. Which, because you have to have the Ancient One blood to be able to touch it safely.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever really, like, specified how or why it malfunctions. I wonder if it's because Valkyrie's so powerful.
No, do you remember it's the one where they start, the Supreme Killer? The one who ends up being turned into a zombie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I can't remember this character's name. I'm going to see if it's on the character website. I've got that tab open. Because he is the shittest, like, malevolent. He's not Meritorious, it's Malevolent is the big bad.
Yeah.
There we go. Meritorious is one of, like, the council members when she first signs up. I remember now.
What's his name? The Zombie King.
The Zombie King, that guy. I was like, what is his fucking name? He's not on here. We've got Billy Ray Sanguine, but we haven't got this guy.
It's on that one of those stickers. Have you got my stickers anywhere?
I don't know if that's one of the ones. Oh, we've got Zombie King.
Just
you
the Zombie
King.
I love those little threesomes. You
so
have no
cute.
idea what we're talking about. Okay, I did some Skulduggery stickers, and one of them is my family is drawn by, what's her name?
Clara,
yeah.
Clarabelle.
With Gerald and the Zombie King. Yeah, he's just so funny.
But, so do you remember when they go to his pub and they fight the spider dude?
Yeah.
Do you know when one of his conditions for telling them something is to get to shoot Valkyrie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Skulduggery does to get that away with that, it gets the reflection and shoots the reflection, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So because he killed the reflection, but then the reflection can't be really killed, that's when all the issues start happening. So from there, that's when the reflection starts hiding memories from Valkyrie. So the reflection basically does her boring school day and then can come home and almost download Valkyrie the memories of the day. So that Valkyrie's like kind of up to date with her quote marks real life. So she kind of has dual memories always of her detective life and her fake school life.
Yeah, and she starts missing out on so many things, like her first kiss and stuff like that.
And like...
Scapegrace.
That's it.
I like the picture of them. Yeah, there's so many amazing characters. Oh, I really need to reread this series already.
Yeah.
Oh, move that
that's
away
why,
from there. I don't want it to get wet because then it'll ruin.
Obviously, I've got the audiobooks, don't I? Because that's how I've kept it fresh, because I keep listening to the audiobooks. So the reflection starts to like hide memories from her, or it starts to show emotions, and Valkyrie's like, you're not supposed to have emotions.
Yeah.
She eventually has a baby sister, and like the reflection starts to get quite protective of the baby sister.
I can't. Everything with Alice just makes me sad.
Oh,
it's just a horrible situation.
So tragic.
Everything to do with her is tragic.
Everything to do with the end of book 9 and the fallout from it.
Yeah, like then no one catches a break ever. I swear.
Like it's just from that last trilogy. It's just
it
like,
fucks everyone up.
Heartbreak
forever.
from start to finish. Yeah. So the reflection thing happens throughout this as well. You've got the middle three, which is Deathbringer, and then the last one, which is Darkest. Now, Darkest is something that starts getting seeded from, like, book 1. Mm-hmm. So this is Book of Names. So you get, in this universe, you have 3 names. You have your true name, your given name, so the name you're given by your parents at birth, and your taken name. Sorcerers have to have a taken name to protect themselves, because their given name can be used to control them until they take a name.
Which is why she goes by Valkyrie Kane as opposed to
Stephanie Edgley, which is her, like, given name. But if you find out your true name, you can almost access a deeper level of power. It makes you quite formidable. So the true names are kind of there's a book of names basically that's kept secured in the council chambers. Just one of the things they are that tries to get stolen in the earlier series.
Yeah.
And in that process, Valkyrie learns what her true name is, which is Darkess. They have started hearing rumours from psychics about a Darkess that's going to destroy the world. And then Valkyrie finds out her true name is Darkess, and she's like, fuck. And then she's also at that point thinking to herself, I can't tell Skulduggery because he'll kill me.
She keeps it a secret.
Because she's like, he will have to kill me. Like, he will.
Yeah, because
he's just that ruthless.
Because she's so black and white, but she doesn't really take... Yeah, he's ruthless, but she doesn't take into account that he's not as black and white as her.
Yeah, especially not when it comes to her.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that she does that Skulduggery would have killed anyone else over, and he never, ever chooses to kill her, even though there's multiple times when it would have been easier.
Yeah.
So, when she first finds out that it's her true name is Darkess, she assumes that someone else finds her true name and then uses it to control her, because your true name can also be used to control you if they find it first.
Yeah.
So then she's like, cool, I'm going to go seal my true name.
I hate all that part.
Which is like quite a traumatic experience, because she has to go to the land of the dead basically, and have her heart taken out in front of her chest of this like creepy doctor dude who then appears later.
What is his name? I hate him.
There's too many characters in this for us to remember all the names.
That is an issue, especially when I don't remember names anyway.
Professor something, or he's something like that.
Yeah. You keep talking and I will find his name.
Yeah, she
Dr. Nye.
Dr. Nye.
The science guy, yeah.
Yeah. Nye, so creepy. He's part of a race of creatures that don't have like a gender, and they are...
I was going to say it or they.
It or they.
It's not his, is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's an it, isn't he? Isn't it? That's really hard to do it though. I can do theys, but it is weird.
Go for they instead. There's actually like another one of these. What are they? Oh, Krenger.
Yeah.
There's another one later on as well, and they like work together.
But they're well known to be a bit sociopathic and
mantis. That's
icky.
A genderless asexual creature referred to as it.
So yeah, she has to have her heart taken out of her body in front of her and carved into to seal her true name. But once that's done, then she finally tells Skulduggery, because he kind of forces it out of her, because he's
basically like,
I know something's wrong.
Didn't you tell me?
Yeah,
we could have. There's so many other options we could have done. You could have died. What are you talking about? Yeah, because at one point, like, Dr. Nye is like refusing to put her body back together, as she has to threaten him using necromancy like magic. Threaten it. Fucking hell, that's really hard to do. Yeah,
it feels really unnatural. And then she's like, okay, cool, I've fixed it. But as we start to discover during the Deathbringer trilogy, basically your true name, when you're very powerful, can almost manifest like a separate entity inside you, like not a split personality, because that's not the correct terminology. Yeah. But almost like it's like a dark side to herself that takes over. Yes, and Valkyrie is as powerful enough to make that happen, yeah. Yeah, so then a few times Darkess starts to pop out to basically save Valkyrie's skin. And then it gets harder and harder to put her back away again, until she can't anymore. Yeah. And she becomes literally her worst nightmare. Yeah, it's horrible to watch it, because she knows it's coming, but she can't. And she's trying everything she can think of. But a lot of her guilt is, she's like, if I just left the magical world, if I stopped practicing magic and went back to being a normal human, none of these people would have died. Yeah. And that's what a lot of her guilt is she did make a choice to continue. Yeah. And it's just, I feel so... Because she basically makes a lot of mistakes, and then Darkess... But she's a child. Yeah. Like... When the Darkess thing happened, she's not even 18. Yeah. She's barely 18, I think. If she is a child trying to deal with this. Or 18 or 19, something like that. Yeah. When Darkess happens. And basically she went from being a hero who saved the world with Skulduggery multiple times over in the previous 9 books, to the villain. Yeah. And to help fight, and basically Darkess ends up splitting from her and using the Reflection's body So they end up being totally separate identities in the end.
Yeah.
And to defeat Darkess, she has to get control of this weapon that, again, is from book 1. And her little sister is accidentally imprinted on this weapon. So when you this weapon, once someone touches it, only they can use it. And the only way to get it off of them is death.
And when she says her little sister, she's literally a baby at this point.
She's literally a baby. And they have...
Oh my God, I think that this would hit me even worse now that I've recently had a baby again.
Baby girl as well.
Oh.
But so then she's...
I'm feeling really sick about this.
Yeah, she has to make, like, this, what is, like, the worst choice ever that no 18, 19-year-old should ever be faced with. And the only way she can defeat Darkess is with this fucking weapon. So she ends up having to stop her baby sister's heart and restart it in order to imprint the weapon on herself instead.
And the consequences that this all has on Alice as well
for the next
awful 5
books,
and
basically.
It fucks up Valkyrie's relationship with her family because she's so riddled with guilt. No one knows.
She can't look at her baby sister without. So she after this, she disappears for 5 years. She moves to America and stops doing all magic.
It's when she gets Zelda, right?
Yeah, gets the dog. So it's so sad. It's just so, like, it's just heartbreaking. And then when she does choose to come back to the magical world, obviously everyone's so angry with her. And she has to, like, just live with what she did.
Yeah, people were just, like, giving her evils when she walks down the street and stuff.
Avoiding her. Yeah. Like, people attack her in the street quite a lot.
Yeah. Not any of, like, the main characters. Most of them are kind of on her, well... Most of them understand that it was a shit situation. The ones that
they understand Darkess wasn't her.
Yeah.
But they also don't shy away from acknowledging the fact that if she had said something earlier or stepped back from magic, that Darkess wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That it's like, even Skulduggery, all the people in her life have to be kind of like, it's not your fault, but it is your fault.
Yeah. You made some poor decisions. They were adult decisions that you had to make as a child, but you did make the wrong ones. And a lot of people suffered from your decisions.
And a lot of people see Skulduggery as sort of culpable in that as well.
They're like, you would have known, or you should have seen what was happening.
You brought this child into this. Like you say, she shouldn't have been making those decisions.
No.
But an adult brought her into this world.
Mm-hmm.
But and then, like, because her sister loses her soul, and, like, she has to go recover it in later books.
Oh, and then, so when her sister gets it, her sister's just happy all the time.
Yeah.
The happiest child in the world. And then when she gets her soul back, she just cries.
She's just traumatised.
Just inconsolable.
And then Valkyrie's...
And then her parents have no fucking clue what's happened. They're like, what have we done wrong?
Yeah. They're like, did something happen? Has she been abused? We don't know what... Like, why the sudden change?
Man, this is horrible.
I'm getting goosebumps talking about it.
Like, I just think about how happy my daughter is. And
like, imagine if she just flipped one day. Like, oh. So Valkyrie's parents obviously end up finding out because towards the end of the Darkest trilogy, they end up being in danger, essentially. And because her sister imprinted on this weapon, people are hunting them to get the weapon off her little sister, basically.
Do you know what? It's crazy that, like, so much happens. Like, I'm just thinking... There's all that stuff with, like, the zombies right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And she dates a vampire and all of this.
Oh, yeah. And she 2 times the Fletcher and the vampire.
That's just...
That's a side plot.
It's nothing.
And then she ends up having to kill the vampire boyfriend because he gets too obsessive with her.
Yeah, and it's just nothing at the end of the day. Like...
And, Fletcher. I love Fletcher. He's such an idiot. Fletcher with his good hair.
Oh, we also need to have a moment of appreciation for China. And just how much I wish I could marry her.
I love how, to this day, we still don't know if China's a good guy or a bad guy.
But it's the same as Skulduggery. Yeah. There's no... China's in it for what is going to be best for her.
Yeah.
End of it.
And, like, she likes Valkyrie and Skulduggery, so that begins to just sort of influence some of her choices of just being like, I like you, so...
I think, as well, she likes that Valkyrie is unwaveringly trusting of her, and I think she starts to want to in some way be what Valkyrie sees her as.
Yeah, she wants to be that kind of role model for Valkyrie.
She does end up making decisions that the China we met at the very first book would probably have never made.
But the thing is, so her and Skulduggery seem like they get closer as a group. Skulduggery starts to trust China, and then he finds out China is the person that sold out his family.
Oh yeah, and that fucks everything.
Then he blows up her building.
Well,
obviously.
Understandable.
But he didn't kill her. No. So everyone's still like, that is progress.
Yeah, so
pretty much everyone is like, okay, but he didn't kill China, so that's good.
Like, grew up in a cult.
Yeah, so she was one of the faceless ones. She worshipped the faceless ones. And she was on the other side of the war until towards the end, and then she started doing double agenting, which is how her and Skulduggery meet. And it's heavily implied that they had a little something as teenagers.
Oh, I think they definitely did.
Before Skulduggery met his wife.
Yeah.
Who we never find out her name or the child's name, by the way.
No.
They remain... Or we never find out Skulduggery's true name or his family name. Pre-skeleton fighting. Because Valkyrie's always like, you need to take up your family crest again. Because in this world, obviously, because you have taken names, you lose your family name. So instead, people have like a crest. So then if you are multi-generational sorcerers, the crest is what carries through with you instead.
Yeah.
And Skulduggery has refused since the war to use his family's crest.
Skulduggery's done a lot of shit.
Well, we find out that's because he also had an alter ego true name that did way worse things than Valkyrie's one.
Yeah, but people don't know that he and that are the same.
No,
Unlike Dark S, who is literally wearing Valkyrie's face.
Yeah, whereas because his dark alter ego always wore a full body like armor suit and mask, so no one knows that they are separate people. They just know. I mean, how no one ever put it together that this character went away when Skulduggery came back. So
there's a lot of that going on, isn't there?
During the war, Skulduggery disappears for 5 years. And he's like, up until then, he's like full of rage and like not much humanity. And his friends are pretty worried about him. And then he just disappears. During which time, this big baddie arises who's killing hundreds of people. But, so not everyone... So once your magic settles, usually you only have one type of magic. Skulduggery and Valkyrie are part of the rare set of people that... no, not Valkyrie. Valkyrie's powers are weird because of all the shit that happens to her. Skulduggery is ambidextrous magically. But no one knows in his real life.
The one who is hanging out with Omen in the last...
Never. No?
No, the one that used to be friends with Skulduggery and Skulduggery left
Crispula Vice? Something like that.
He's ambidextrous as well, isn't he? Because that comes up as a bit of a... What?
Yeah. So, like, Skulduggery can do necromancy and elemental magic just as well, even after his magic settles. But basically, no one knows about the necromancy part. He kept it a secret his whole life. And the evil dude that his alter ego becomes only uses necromancy. So then everyone just assumes it is a separate person.
Yeah.
Although...
Lord Vile, is
that Lord Vile is his alter ego, yeah. Which, of course, he's called Lord, like... Of course, Skulduggery's alter ego is called Lord.
I was looking at the taker names, and then there's Detective Inspector Me. And Cadaver Cane. Detective Inspector Me.
But sorry, that's his, like, the false name he gives when he goes into, like, a mortal police stations, basically.
What's Valkyrie? Is she
something like that?
Let me have a look a bit. It'll obviously list hers. Oh, no, they haven't got the list of her other names. That's annoying.
So yeah, I don't know how no one ever puts it together that Lord Vile and Skulduggery are the same person.
Yeah,
but actually, when that gets revealed, that was fucking mind-blowing. When the darkest thing gets revealed, like, bombshell moment, the Lord Vile moment, bombshell, and how... I don't know, how when you find out how he became a walking skeleton is actually quite anticlimactic. It's just one of the necromancers. He's like, I actually don't know how I did the spell. Could never replicate it ever again.
It just happened.
He was like, I was fucking around and finding out.
And Skulduggery is the what's left.
Yeah, should we talk about the last book? Because
yeah,
that was because especially as we thought the series was ending there at that when that book came out, we thought it was the last ever one.
Well, that was what it was said to be.
Yeah. So, and it's also called so until the end is a phrase Valkyrie and Skulduggery start saying to each other to be like, I'm with you until the end. I'm with you through this until the end. Basically. So it's a phrase they've said to each other, like ultimate trust. Like, I am here for you until the end kind of thing.
And that is very much the relationship they have from quite early on, actually.
Yeah.
It?
And so that last bit being called until the end, I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Because to be clear, like, Dying of the Light, he kills off 5 main characters? That's when we lose Ghastly and a whole bunch of them, don't we?
Yeah.
And Ghastly dying, I never got over that.
No, I never got over Ghastly. And when Tanith's even talking about him,
I'm just like, like, because they almost went on a date.
Because Tanith
he finally asked her
shard
out,
or whatever,
and the shadow demony thing takes her over, doesn't she?
and she's still, even though she's lost anything, she's like dating. What's his name?
Sanguine.
Yeah, but she's still a bit like. Yeah, but you're not Ghastly, are you?
Yeah.
Even though she's got no humanity, she's still talking about Ghastly.
So, and like, when Ken Speckle Grouse,
yeah,
when he dies, which is like, so early, I never realised how early he goes.
Yeah.
Like, it's like book 3, I think, or 4, something around then.
There's so many
4 or 5
great characters that just...
Because Ken Speckle is very much
killed.
He's someone outside the sanctuary, is like the ruling government. Ken Speckle is outside of that. He does his own like lab basically, and Skulduggery starts using him to help repair Valkyrie's many injuries essentially. And he's always like, "You are a child. I should not be healing broken bones on you from a fight where you fought a grown adult."
Yeah.
And she's like, "But I won. It's fine."
And he's like, "Babe, think about it."
But he's always like, you always assume being treated like a child means treated with less respect than you deserve. He was like, I treat you like a child, but I still treat you respectfully. And she's like, well, you're like the only one, dude.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but I shouldn't be.
When he dies, it's so sad. So this is what I mean. He's not afraid to kill very important characters. Like, characters he makes you love. And then he just kills them.
Yeah, I mean, the last, I listened to these as audio, and the last, I would say, like 5 or so chapters of Until the End, I was just sitting there like...
Do you remember, because
I couldn't move. I was just sitting on my bed, like, crying.
I was like, just text you like, fuck, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I was like, and then there's the pages where you're like, because basically they get to a point where, like, there is no going back.
Yeah. And it's like...
How can they win this time?
I don't understand what's going on with this book.
Like, you basically, they can't win.
Yeah.
It ends up being Omen, obviously, who saves the day. And that stuff with Omen...
Oh my God, that was
starting in book 10...
Okay, even though... So, I'd accidentally spoiled myself on this, and I was so angry about it. But, even though I'd accidentally spoiled myself, do you know what? It didn't ruin it, because I was still in fucking tears when that happened.
Because that moment where they're like, until the end, and the world goes black, and I was like, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck is happening? I was like, that's it. I was like, he's finally gone and done it. He's literally killed Valkyrie and Skulduggery. Like, we're actually fucked.
We're done.
And then, like, it turns out Omen's gone back in time all these fucking years ago.
Yeah, and the bit when Valkyrie's getting ready to get in the costume or the suit or whatever.
Yeah.
And even though obviously I'd spoiled it by mistake and I knew it was going to be Omen, even that whole discussion and then him being like, well, it'll have to be me, I was still...
Yeah.
Oh my God. Even
I was like,
this is amazing.
Do you remember we went to the signing for that book and you hadn't read it at that point? And like, we went to this signing and the book had only been out like 4 days.
Yeah.
And then Derek Landy was like, you've read it already. And I was like,
I could not put it down, mate.
I spent an entire day in bed reading this, actually.
I I have high functioning depression.
Well, it was not that long after I'd lost my granddad.
Yeah.
And I had a day off, and I literally spent an entire day reading this
Crying
book.
at this book, yeah.
It's called Healthy Coping Mechanisms, guys.
It's called therapy. Look it up.
And obviously then I went to the signing, and I was one of like only people there who had read the book at that point, because he was like, "You've read it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh my god." And I was like, "She hasn't." And it was like, "He made you go away,
Yeah,
didn't
I
he?"
went and stepped away.
And I was like, "The Omen thing?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That was so fucking clever." And he's like, "Thank you, I'm a genius."
You never told me that's what the conversation was.
Well, obviously I couldn't without spoiling
no, like
it.
even now, this is like...
Yeah,
This is the first
I was
time
sure
I'm
he
hearing.
was like, yeah, because I was like, it's so clever. And he was like, "Thank you, I'm such a genius." Like, he
I
did
love
some
that,
kind of
yeah.
joke like that. And I was like, it was so good that I was like, there's points in this book when I was reading it where I was like, fuck, what's going to happen? Like, there's no way back from this. And he was like, just grinning evilly the whole time.
Yeah, like it's such a long book, and like the audiobook was so long, but I think I listened to it in like 2 days. I just was like, oh,
'Cause it is like-
there's so many cliffhangers.
It's like, fucked, there,
Yeah.
fucked. Like, it just gets worse and worse
It's
and worse.
literally like 2/3 of the book, they are fucked.
And it just gets worse and worse and worse until the world is like literally
Whenever
ending.
they think they've got it sorted,
Something
something else
goes
happens.
Yeah.
Oh,
It,
I cannot wait to start the next lot.
is it gonna? I don't know if
I'm
is it
so
about
ready.
Skulduggery and Valkyrie again though?
Let me look it up because
Because you know we've got our own theory that we think he's going to carry on with like Omen and the other characters.
yeah, I don't know if he will now, but that was what we were thinking.
That was our
wasn't it?
theory. So if it carried on, it would be like so. Omen Darkly is a character you get in like book 10. So he goes. They end up having a magical city because things. If you've read them, you'll know what I'm on about. If you're just listening because you want to hear us talk, they end up having a magical city that's concealed from mortals, and in that, then they start a magical school. And Omen is part of the generation of kids who gets to go to this school, and he's the one that saves the day.
I thought it was really interesting, the whole Omen and Augur thing.
Yeah,
Like being it reminded me of what you explained, that Veronica Roth book called Chosen Ones. Is that what it's called? It was about like, what do you do after, if you're the chosen one, what do you do after you've done your chosen bit?
yeah, because obviously what happens to his brother, who was like the hero,
Yeah.
and Omen was always like this shit brother, and then his brother gets cursed, and I like all of that stuff as well. Like,
So
like,
good.
because there are no heroes in this book. Even Omen is
No.
not. I mean, Omen's probably the one that gets off the best.
Omen is like the closest we get to like
A good hero, yeah, who's like someone who's almost completely good.
But he's also a child.
Yeah,
He has a very black and white understanding of what.
and it's
good
like the
is.
cycle continues, even though
Yeah.
Valkyrie has tried her hardest to stop it happening. Because there's loads of times Skulduggery's like, let's just get Omen, and Never's his friend who can teleport, and there's not many teleporters. And Skulduggery's like, let's just get Omen and Never, and she's like, no. They are
literal
children.
Children, yeah.
She's like, if he's getting involved, it's under very specific circumstances. He teleports us. He goes the fuck home.
Yeah.
And like, we don't need Omen for that bit. Like, she's tried so hard to stop the cycle, and then the cycle repeats, and then her baby sister's like starting to like ask about magic already.
Yeah, she's gonna be training and going to the.
And there's
school
also a
and
different
stuff.
dimension where Valkyrie did die. So you also find out, like, yes, the darkest stuff is bad, but there's a different dimension where Valkyrie dies and doesn't do any of the things she and Skulduggery do to save the world. And Alice is in, and then that dimension, Alice is like
Yeah.
a puppet of the
Malice.
face. Malice, yeah, she's like a puppet of the faceless
Such
ones.
a shit name
I
she
know.
picks for herself. But she's a child, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, so just to jump in,
Yeah.
I'll read the synopsis of the new book because there's no, I don't think there'll be any spoilers.
yeah.
So the book is called, what's it called? A Mind Full of Murder? Yeah,
Yeah.
A Mind Full of Murder. So it says, a bone-shaking new trilogy begins, the latest adventure in the best-selling Skulduggery Pleasant series. A murder, a mystery. 2 murders, actually. Well, 3 if you're counting. Oh, look, here comes a 4th. So much murder that skeleton detective Skulduggery Pleasant must annoy Valkyrie Kane, the infamous destroyer of worlds, with his incredible deduction abilities at every available opportunity. As Valkyrie's irritation grows, the detectives sink deeper into a hidden world of dark motivations, festering hatred, and unimaginable pain, and a teensy bit more murder. So it is about those two still.
Okay. Oh, how much more can Valkyrie go through?
Let them
have some peace. Because do you know if this is a fact or not? Because we thought that it was originally supposed to end at book 9, and then he chose to continue it because that's our theory. Because things tie up so neatly at the end of book 9, don't they?
Yeah.
Because that's when the darkest thing concludes. Valkyrie goes off to live her peaceful life in the American countryside with her dog.
I feel like I read that somewhere.
Because that was been our theory between us.
Yeah, so I got to book 9 and I put that to one side. I called it phase 1 and then phase 2 started. I had no intention of continuing on with this. If you'd asked me a few years ago, will I stop at a particular point, I would have said absolutely, because I had no intention of continuing on in this world without Skulduggery and Valkyrie. So, yes.
But poor Valkyrie, how much more can happen to her?
I started this series, I only thought it was going to be 9 books long.
Yeah, okay. So our secret theory is correct.
Yeah, and then when I got to book 6, I realised it would have to go on because I couldn't continue without Valkyrie and Skulduggery.
Just so I don't know if it's in the main series or if it's one of the novellas. I've kind of lost track now.
I've not read the novellas yet, so I'll be able to let you know.
So the story of how she ends up getting back into the magical world.
No.
So it must be in one of the novellas then.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we ever hear that in the main
it could be
series.
in the grimoire, maybe.
No, I've never read that.
Oh. Yeah, because I was waiting because it says to read it after 15.
So there's a whole bit about how... Yeah, it's in one of the novellas then.
Ah, you've got into the end of the paperback?
Yeah.
I've not picked it up yet. I need to do that.
Of course I did. They had to match.
Yeah, I need to get it.
So, basically, someone finds... So she's got this house in the American countryside, but it's also got state-of-the-art security.
Oh wait, there is a bit that is a flashback of the local grocery guy who someone asks where Valkyrie is.
Yeah, and he ends up getting kidnapped.
Yeah, that is in the main series.
Yeah,
maybe,
yeah. So he ends up getting kidnapped. But it's the story of him bringing her groceries and one day finding her just in a ball on the kitchen floor.
Yeah, that's in the main bit, yeah. Yeah, and then you find out that she's been having training with one of those guards or whatever, and he's in love with her and pops up for another thing, and there's just so much.
Oh, because that's what breaks up her and Thingy.
Yeah,
because she ends up having a different
Maritza. Yeah,
because Valkyrie's bi, by the way. I don't know. I don't know if we mentioned that. And the girl she dates later on, who was you're convinced that this girl is endgame. Because this girl just accepts Valkyrie.
There's no reason for her not to be.
She's she just accepts Valkyrie for all she is, including everything that Valkyrie did. And Valkyrie tells her a lot.
And Valkyrie's so, it gives Valkyrie a bit of calm, a bit of peace to be with her.
And they'll go to a cafe together.
Building a little life. Yeah, they go and have coffee together.
But
she looks after the dog.
The guy in the coffee shop though, who's refusing to serve Valkyrie, and Valkyrie's you know what, fair enough, I'll go. Yeah. And then her girlfriend's so upset on her behalf. And she's she was a child. What the fuck? She's repented.
She's literally
she's saved the world 10 times since then. So maybe we let it go.
Yeah, maybe we just fucking move
Valkyrie's
on.
Don't. It's I deserve this. Don't.
Yeah.
And her girlfriend's so angry on her behalf, and I'm oh. But they break up, don't they? Because she has to kill that night guy.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find the names. Because I feel like it's Maritza, but I will double check.
Yeah, one of the Reapers.
Yeah, because he turns up and he's all
and then she has to kill him, and then she's not okay with the fact she had to kill him.
Yeah.
And it breaks them up.
She's a necromancer, isn't she?
Yeah, but not a baddie necromancer.
No, just a necromancer.
And that in itself is healing a little bit of Valkyrie's trauma.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it's not like listed in her thing for some reason. Yeah.
Begins with M, her girlfriend. Yeah, I was really upset when they broke up.
I was like, nah, they're gonna get back together. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no.
But then she gets possessed by a faceless one, doesn't she?
Yeah.
So that kind of stops them going back together for a bit.
Melitza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's just, there's so much.
And there's
So much hurt.
There's loads of characters in this that when they were being written, like there's lots of characters the fans named. I didn't know this.
No.
There's loads of characters the fans named.
That's really cool.
That they like decided their outfits even.
That is awesome.
So, you know, like the American guy who gets involved with them in the later series, so after, in the second, the American detective guy kind of gets involved with them. He was named and his clothes were designed by a fan.
That is amazing.
Who won a competition.
I know, like you said, because I don't ever go on Twitter.
I don't anymore.
The one time I will happily dead name something. But you said, like, when he was writing a book, he was asking the fans about something because he couldn't remember.
Yeah, he was like, guys, I can't be asked to research. He was like, can you tell me what happens with this?
Yeah, which is brilliant. I love that.
He is good fun to follow on social. I stopped using Twitter, but he was pretty much the only reason I was using it for in the end anyway.
Yeah, well, no one goes near it now. That's sensible.
Yeah,
so there's a whole bunch of spin-offs, as we've mentioned. I've not read them yet, but that is my next task.
I've got his other series at Demon Road.
Yeah.
That I never read. I need to.
That'll be the next one. So the new book comes out at the end of March. So we will be doing, no doubt, you will hear about that in your reading updates. Yeah.
I still need to pre-order that, actually.
Yeah, I've just done it whilst we've been sitting there.
So yeah, if you've just listened to this because you listened to us just for hearing us talk,
thanks.
hopefully I've convinced you to go and read them. I mean, they're a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a whole spoiler thing, but to be fair, you're going to forget half of this.
Yeah, because a lot happens.
Yeah.
And there's there's subplots on subplots and subplots, and there's sub-characters that join us for a few books and go away again.
Yeah. Yeah, like we've barely spoken about half of the characters.
No, I mean, like, even Sanguine, which is like a baddie in this, but he's a great baddie.
Yeah,
I love
really
Sanguine.
But, like, we've barely spoken about Tanith or Fletcher or, I don't know. So many people.
Yeah, even Clarabelle. I mean, Clarabelle's there for a while.
Yeah. There's just some really good characters. They're so good.
Like,
it's just...
all the side characters are quite rich.
They're very well fleshed out.
Even our villains, it's just your villain of the moment that's been defeated by the guys and is like, they are still...
Yeah, Derek Landy knows them. He knows, like, their backstory. He's probably got a bio in his head for each of them without meaning to.
Yeah.
It's like, I hate to make the comparison, but it reminds me of, like, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
But I would say that this series is actually more perhaps reminiscent of, like, Game of Thrones with some comedy, rather than Harry Potter.
Yeah, I don't think we've really stressed how funny these books are,
Yeah,
though.
'cause
They are
so
heartbreaking,
funny.
but they are so fucking funny at the same time.
Yeah.
I did like the Skulduggery and Valkyrie banter. And then when Melitza's like, you psychopaths, she nearly died!
Yeah, and then,
Which,
like...
when Valkyrie's in hospital after being, like,
Yeah.
ripped to shreds by a baddie.
Yeah.
And her and Skulduggery are joking.
Yeah, just having lulz, you know?
And then Melitza's like, shut the fuck up! She nearly died! This isn't funny!
And I really enjoyed that in Bad Magic, which is the first of the graphic novels. I feel like that was horror comedy, and it was brilliant. Like, their bantering whilst they're having a fight is just so funny.
Or even, you haven't read this one yet, but in Hell Breaks Loose, where Valkyrie goes back in time to Skulduggery during the Dead Man days, like when he's fresh skeletons and he's like all rage filled.
I guess she's trying to banter with him and he's just like, the fuck.
Well, the thing is, because at that point he's like rage filled, not talking to anyone. He's very much in that bit before he goes off to be the big bad.
Yeah.
Is in that phase of time. And basically she just starts talking to him like her Skulduggery of her time. And then Skulduggery's replying and all the dead men are like, oh, what the fuck? So it's again that whole thing of her making Skulduggery better.
Yeah.
You can see it right back to if when she goes and talks to him in his bad days, because then he starts to banter with her and joke, and then all the dead men are really like, what the fuck?
What's going
Like, are we getting our friend back?
How is this happening?
Obviously that timeline gets erased.
I was going to say, I assume that something happens.
Something happens and that gets erased. But in that book, you do see Valkyrie go back. Valkyrie as she is now, but like it's set somewhere around 14, 15, I think. Valkyrie goes back. Oh, it's after 15. I can't remember now. I've sort of lost track a bit. She goes back in time for reasons. And she's trying to be as vague as possible. And yeah, then that timeline gets erased because reasons. But it's really, I love this series.
Yeah, it's just such a comfort series, I think.
Also, like, because the Audible, they group, the first 3 trilogies are grouped as Audibles as well. So you 1 credit to get 3 books.
Yeah.
And that's great as someone who, like, listens them to sleep, because it lasts me ages.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, obviously for things I'm, like, listening to, I restart them back where I fell asleep the night before. But for this one, I just let it play from where it was when I woke up.
Yeah, because you know the story.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I don't think, was that good for you?
Well, it was fun for us to ramble about it.
We've
Thanks
been wanting
for joining
to
us.
Yeah, we've been wanting to do feral Skulduggery chat for a while, so
I'm glad we had an excuse to do it. If you have read Skulduggery, or if you are going to now, let us know in the comments on one of our social medias.
Yeah.
We would love to hear about that. And if you want to go feral chat about it as well, join our Facebook group, Lazy Book Lovers Podcast, and come and join us and just feral out with us.
we realised we've accidentally made that Facebook group private. You don't have to answer any questions to join it though. I just have to approve you. Oops.
We could probably set up as like a pre-approval, or can you not do that?
No,
on
I
private?
tried.
No, that's annoying. Also, next week is March, obviously, for you guys listening. And we are now starting the Lazy Book Lovers book group. Woo! So, we are going to read a indie published book that's available on KU Kindle Unlimited every 2 months. So our March and April book is going to be Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J. Tuli. Hopefully that's correct. This is book 1 of 4 books, but
We're only reading one.
we're only reading one. Well, we might, but we're only reading one for the book group.
Yeah.
So if you would like to join us, please do. It's available on KU, and then come and chat with us about it.
So we're going to set up a buddy read through Storygraph, aren't we?
Yes, we'll put the link in our card. So come join us, and on Storygraph you can leave comments of where you get up to, and people won't get spoiled because it doesn't unlock until you get to that point.
Yeah.
So please come and join us. We would love to chat some more about it with you guys.
Do it. We've been wanting to start a buddy read like book group thing for ages.
Yeah.
So get on it,
Finally.
please.
So yes. So please do that. Please follow and rate us wherever you're listening to this podcast. That would really help us and help other people find us as well. And as always, you are welcome to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. But if not, we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye guys.